What's good, everyone? Today I'm reviewing Alien Resurrection, and this was a very pleasant surprise. I quite enjoyed this movie. I don't really get the hate for it. In fact, I'm quite surprised it really doesn't have as many fans as I would think it should. This movie takes place 200 years after Alien 3, and some space scientists decided that it would be a great idea to clone Ripley with the Xeno Queen inside her so they could make some sort of alien human hybrid biological weapon because, great idea. What could possibly go wrong? As soon as that happens, some space smugglers decide to stop on this ship to refuel, resupply, and then the aliens get out, of course. So now it's a race against the clock to find a way to get off the ship and destroy it before it reaches Earth so the aliens can't get out and kill everyone. Fun idea for a movie. For most part, I think it works. I do think that there's a major lack in tension where, the aliens got out and we're heading straight for Earth. But it's like, yeah, we got plenty of time. We got like 3 hours to find a way to blow up the ship. This is gonna be no problem. And yeah, it doesn't really feel like a whole lot of tension. Well, on most of the other levels, I think this movie works pretty well. Now, much to my surprise, this movie was written by the Joss Whedon. And I was like, oh boy, okay, so this could go either really well or really bad, and I think it went pretty well. There were only a few times where a stupid joke ruined the moment. Nothing too bad. And for the most part, I thought the movie was pretty funny. Most of the jokes come from Ron Perlman, which he's always great, and he's great in this movie. Surprising amount come from Ripley, which more on Ripley's character later. But I thought the humor worked pretty well in this movie. The movie can be a little bit cheesy, which at the start I was expecting, oh, is this going to be like really cheesy? And it wasn't. And so I can see how those bits at the beginning might offset the tone a little bit. Like, you get a scene in this movie where Ripley plays basketball. And it's the funniest thing. I love this scene so much. It is so goofy.
Nothing but net. Just swish.
First time.
No.
Nothing but net, as you saw it.
And then there's like other moments where, it never gets as cheesy as that scene again, but there's that part where Ron Perlman shoots an alien in the face and kills it, turns around, and there's just like a little spider, and it scares him, and he shoots it. It was awesome. Back to the writing, some of the dialogue isn't great. It's mostly fine, but there are some parts where it's like, what? That exchange between them didn't make any sense, or just like, oh, that was a dumb line or whatever. Not a whole lot, but it is in there. Other parts where there's just not logic, like when they're in the underwater scene, which I thought was pretty cool, but they're holding their breath for like 5 minutes, no problem. It's like, scene could have been tightened up a little bit, be more believable. Whatever, it was fun. And this is probably the most fun Alien movie. All the other ones are very bleak, very serious. This one is it's a lot of fun. It can be pretty disturbing at times, but it's a fun sci-fi movie. I quite liked it. So Ripley in this movie is a little strange. So she's a clone. It's not our regular Ripley. She did die in Alien 3. And she has xenomorph DNA in her. And so she can smell the aliens. It's weird, but it works well enough, I guess. And just the whole time she's acting weird, and they say she has memories, but you can't really tell are they all her memories, or are they memories from an alien's perspective? Are they an alien's memories? It's weird. Maybe it's both. So I don't know. It was a little bit strange. She wasn't acting like herself, but she is a clone with alien DNA in her. So scene I want to talk about is the room where Ripley stumbles in on all of her failed clones, where she has a tattoo on her wrist. She's like, clone attempt number 8. She goes into room number 7, and there are all these failed experiments where these practical puppets and tubes that are all human xenomorph hybrids with the different body parts mixed and matched, and like it's just this really disturbing scene where it's like, oh, these things still alive, and then one of them is, it's like, kill me, and it's like, I think if Ripley was more human in this movie, instead of acting all weird because she's a clone, and it was more existential about like, oh, I was created in a lab, this is freaking me out, I think the scene could have been better. It was still really good though, and really kind of sad where she has to kill one of her clones. And then this is one of those moments where Joss Whedon kind of not ruins the moment. I think he could have waited longer to drop the joke, but he drops the joke there, and it's like, okay, it made me laugh, but at what cost?
Waste of ammo. Let's go. Must be a chick thing.
But that whole scene, for the most part, was really well done with really great effects. I thought that was awesome. And you get our team of smugglers, which is a lot of fun. You get Ron Perlman, again, great in everything, great in this, has some great lines. Tuco from Breaking Bad is in this movie, which is a big surprise. It was just in a minor supporting role, but it's just like, hey, that's cool, it's that guy. There's the crew leader from the beginning of the movie. He dies pretty early on. I think that was a shame. He was a pretty cool guy. May have been better if he was in the movie a little bit more, but it didn't like ruin the movie that he wasn't in it or anything. Then there's another guy that they find halfway through the movie who has a chest burster inside of him, and they're like, okay, we got some time before that thing's gonna hatch, we might be able to save him. But just like with the ship exploding or crashing or getting to Earth or whatever, there's not a lot of tension where it's like, ooh, are we gonna be able to save this guy, is the alien gonna come out before we can help him or whatever. It's just like, he's just there, just not a member of the crew, until eventually it does, like, we're like, oh right, he has an alien inside of him, and it pops out. And that seems pretty good, but not as much tension as there could have been. I think that could have elevated the movie a little bit more if they handled that a little bit different. We get another guy who's like a cripple in a wheelchair. He was a bit of fun. He had like a cool shotgun, so he had some pretty good moments. There's a guy with pistols like built into his arms, like cyberpunkish kind of stuff. He was pretty cool. And then finally you get the android girl, where it's a twist that she's an android, and I didn't see it coming, where they subverted expectations by having her act different than the previous androids in the series, where Ash and Bishop, they act very kind of robotic with how they speak. They're usually in like science divisions or whatever. This character is completely different, acts very normal, much kinder, and that's sort of part of the character. And it was just a big subversion. It's a different model, so I just didn't expect it. I thought, oh, that's an interesting twist, but it doesn't have the same effect as it did the first time with Ash. So it's like, okay, we're doing that again. Pretty cool. I didn't see it coming. Works well enough. She's kind of an interesting character where she is programmed to be more caring and to save human lives. So when she finds out what the like military science division, whatever this group is trying to breed more xenomorphs, turn them into like a biological weapon, she's like compelled to stop them and to go kill Ripley, which it would have been interesting to see how that would go, where she's meant to preserve human life, but she has to take a life to do that. But it never came down to that. The xenomorph was already out of her. And so she just becomes a person who tries to save everyone, is more trusting. And in this world where everyone's just ready to leave someone for dead and shoot everyone or whatever, it's just an interesting, different kind of character. Now, I want to talk a lot about the special effects in this movie. This is one of the best looking movies I've ever seen. And honestly, I think it's my pick for the movie with best practical effects ever. Where before, everyone I heard say, it's The Thing. The Thing has the best practical effects. And up until now, I'm like, yeah, that's a reasonable pick. It makes sense. The effects in that movie are great. And then I see this movie, I'm like, how has no one ever talked about this? Where the xenomorphs in this movie like look better than ever. You like see like the whole thing. It's like not trying to hide a costume or anything. It just looks great. It moves great. It looks like an actual animal. And they're like in sort of intelligent characters where they're like setting traps and pushing buttons and stuff, kind of like the raptors in Jurassic Park. But the xenomorphs look great, and like I've said before with each movie in this series, best set design consistently every time. This movie's sets look great, like on this huge spaceship or on like the little shuttle or anywhere. It just looks believable in this sci-fi setting, and it's unique. It's sort of retro. It just looks awesome, and you get a slightly different side to it where, you know, it's 200 years in the future, so it's different than the past three movies, but it's a obvious continuation, a believable continuation set 200 years in the future. All the kills are still pretty good. You get some good gore effects in here, not best of the series, but still really good. Even this movie uses some CGI in it more than the other movies, and almost none of it is really dated. Most of it holds up. There are like a few shots where like, that could use a little work, but it's nothing like it's like ruins the scene or anything. Like, it still looks really good. It's a really good blend. When you get to the stuff with the Xeno Queen, it is just insane because it's a clone, it's an experiment that kind of goes wrong, where it's just like this huge amalgamation of body parts, and I have no idea how they made this. It must have been a huge set where it's just all these like moving tentacles and stuff in different parts, and you don't even know how they fit together, but they're all mashed together. And then you like fall down into this hole, and there are like all the different scientists that are left like wrapped up in these like cocoons. And, you know, the part where the guy's talking, he's saying some weird junk there. He's going crazy. But it's just a really cool looking scene where the Xeno Queen is here, and just like all this biological mass is just stemming from her, going everywhere, wrapping up bodies and stuff, and it just looks great. And then you get to the alien that seems to be called the Newborn, where it has like this sort of human skull look to it, but it's like a white xenomorph, and this thing like looks awesome. It does have some strange anatomical choices to it. I could have done without those parts, but otherwise it looks really cool. And the face is like super expressive, and it's sort of like a sympathetic monster where it's going around ripping people's heads off, and it's awesome, but then, you know, it just starts whimpering like a dog, and it thinks Ripley is its mom. It's like, kind of makes you feel sad that it was even born. And then you get to the end, and it's getting sucked through the window out into space through this like really narrow hole, and it's this huge thing, and it's like getting sort of like spaghettified from the inside out, where its guts pop out, and then like, sucked back through its body, out of its head, and then you like see like every gory detail. It was actually almost hard to watch it, but it was so well done. It was really awesome. Just the effects in this movie are so good. Now, overall, if it wasn't clear, I really like this movie. Like I said more at the beginning, there were some flaws with some dialogue, logic, slightly imbalanced tone. But everything else was just a lot of fun. Characters were fun. Special effects are fantastic. Aliens are awesome. So really enjoyed it. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Maybe over time I might even push it to a 9. So really, really great movie. One of my favorites in the series, obviously. So yeah, that's all I got for Alien Resurrection. Thanks for watching.